This is Math Studies Lesson 2.3. Today we're going to talk about converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So the implication is something that we've already talked about. That is an if-then statement. If P happens, then Q happens. If I go to the mall, then I will buy a shirt. A converse is when you take that statement and reverse it. It's still an if-then statement, but you use your phrases in reverse. So if Q, then P. If I buy a shirt, then I went to the mall. The inverse is taking your original implication, if P, then Q, and writing an if-then statement. It's still an if-then statement, but you add nots on both the first part and the second part. So I'm going to use the squiggly knots. If not P, then not Q. If I did not go to the mall, then I did not buy a shirt. And the contrapositive is like the converse and the inverse put together. Still an if-then statement, but we reverse and add nots. If not Q, then not P. If I did not buy a shirt, then I did not go to the mall. So the implication and the contrapositive, those are logical equivalents. That means if the implication is true, then the contrapositive is true, and reverse as well. If the contrapositive is true, then the implication is true. They are both always true or both always false. Logical equivalence. And the converse and the inverse match up the same way. They are both always true or both always false. So, for my examples down below, I have a bunch of statements, and we're going to either converse, inverse, contrapositive, or work our way backwards to the implication. So the first one says, if you get all your homework done in class, then you are a hard worker. The converse would be that in reverse. If you are a hard worker, then you finish your homework in class. The inverse takes the original statement and adds nots. So if you do not get your if you do not get your homework done, then you are not a hard worker. And the contrapositive takes the original, flips it, and adds nots. If you are not a hard worker, then you do not finish your homework in class. Letter B gives me the converse. It's giving me a statement that's already been reversed. If a shape is a rhombus, then all four sides are congruent. So the implication would be to write the converse of the current converse. So we're going to reverse it. If all four sides are congruent, I'm going to kind of go shorthand here. If four sides are congruent, then it's a rhombus. The inverse would be adding knots to the implication. If four sides are not congruent, then it is not a rhombus. And the contrapositive would be if we took the converse and added knots. So if a shape is not a rhombus, then the four sides are not congruent. I don't think I'm going to finish the last two here. I hope you get the idea. If you're still struggling with this, just go ahead and ask. But I'll stop the notes there. It's kind of just the same thing again. Good luck on the exercises, and please let me know if you have questions.